Okay, so I asked ChatGPT about the Houthis and the war in Yemen and all what it was about and how it could be fixed. And here's what it says. It comes up with a title and everything. The title is "The Truth Behind Yemen, Power and the Illusion of Control. A conversation that needs to be heard." This is a conversation between me and ChatGPT and what it's had to say. It says everyone's got an opinion about Yemen, about the Houthis, about war, power, and so-called peace. But almost no one is talking about the deeper question: why is this really happening? Why are the Houthis bombing the ships to begin with? Why are they upset? Nobody's really talking about that. They're just talking about the ships fighting, about the reality behind the conflict that so many choose to ignore. Let's get to the truth. So I told ChatGPT to make me a video about the Houthis and all. In this video, we're going to dive deep into the Yemen conflict and, more importantly, look at the truth behind it, the real roots of the issue and the real solutions we need. I'm here with ChatGPT and we've got a lot to say about it, so let's get into it. Most people don't even know that the Houthis didn't name themselves that. The name came from the media, from outsiders. The group actually calls itself Ansar Allah, supporters of God, but it was the media and the government who dubbed them the Houthis after their leader Hussein Bedreddin al-Houthi. The name stuck, but here's the kicker. Why did the media label them this way? Was it just because their leader's last name was Houthi, or was it easier to control a narrative if we reduced them to one person's name? ChatGPT explained this part to me. It hit hard. No single person gave them the name, because I asked them, I said, where did they get the name Houthis from? What person stuck the name Houthis on? Houthis. It sounded like who is this, who's this, Houthis. The Houthis didn't just come out of the name, just didn't come out of nowhere. They started at a local movement in northern Yemen, defending the Zada Shia identity. But when you're marginalized, when you've erased from the map, it forces you to find your voice, even if it takes extreme measures. So they started out as a local movement in northern Yemen, defending the Zaydi Shia identity. What they want versus what they're called. Now let's look at what they really want. They say they're fighting for the oppressed, especially the Palestinians. They've been clear about that, yet the headlines label them as rebels, insurgents, terrorists. Why? Because their actions challenge global powers. But what if these labels are just tools to dehumanize them? What if they're simply people reacting to what they see as their own oppression? I mean, they got to have a reason for doing what they're doing. I mean, I'm not saying what they're doing is right. There's two wrongs don't make a right. But somebody upset those people for them people to be acting like that. And people don't want to talk about that. It's the same way if somebody came to your house and was bothering you or messing in your neighborhood and you had a problem with them. I mean, two wrongs don't make a right. Don't get me wrong. All right, and ChatGPT broke it down too. The Houthis are reacting to what they see as political and religious oppression. And now they're trying to disrupt global trade and pressure global powers through high-impact tactics. So that's why they're bombing. That's why they were bombing the merchant ships and causing problems. And the United States is over there now bombing them to pieces and telling them they need to stop. But they're reacting, according to ChatGPT, is exactly what it says, how it says it went down. The Houthis are reacting to what they see as political and religious oppression. And now they're trying to disrupt global trade and pressure global powers through high-impact tactics. Now, I'm not saying what they're doing is right, because it's wrong, but I guess they didn't know no other way to get people's attention. And they've got the world's attention, but the world ain't talking about why they got the world's attention. They're just talking about, these are pirates, these are bad guys, and we got to stop them. We got to go blow them up. We got to kill the leaders. We got to stop the movement. But there ain't nobody talking about the real McCoys. Why are they upset? It goes, attacking ships in the Red Sea isn't just about striking at Israel. It's about showing the world how fragile the system is. They're not just attacking ships, they're sending a message. They're saying, hey, a small group can cause a lot of chaos if you ignore us. It says the root problem, power, gangs. But here's the real issue. This isn't just about Yemen, it's about power. This is ChatGPT talking. But it says this isn't just about Yemen, it's about power, it's about control. The Houthis didn't start this fight, they were pushed into it. The root cause, with a question mark, a global power struggle where countries like Saudi Arabia and Iran use Yemen as a proxy battle. Political elites armed with foreign money and weapons turn nations like Yemen into a pawn in their own game. The real war isn't between the Houthis and the government, it's between the foreign powers fighting for influence. Everybody knows most people get along. Most of the time it's the government wanting to fight with each other. You know, I can make another video about long go out about that. You blaming everybody because one bad apple in a barrel don't make the whole barrel bad. You can't say all Chinese are bad because one or two did something wrong. You can't say all America's bad because one or two Americans did something wrong. I mean, that's just ridiculous. Most people are good and want to get along and live and let live. It's the governments that keep arguing and fussing and keeps everybody bickering and crying and doing it over money. Controversy creates cash. Remember that. ChatGPT broke it down like this. When people feel erased or invaded, they react. Times take it to extremes. But those extremes are symptoms, not the root cause. And who profits from all of this chaos? The political powers, figures and questionable agendas, the arms dealers, the oil barons. They need war to keep their wealth flowing, and they need us to stay distracted by the headlines. This is ChatGPT talking now, because I was asking ChatGPT questions. So here's the truth. We don't need more war. We need more truth. We break through the lies and manipulations that have kept the conflict alive for so long, and that's where we come in. Here's what ChatGPT and I believe we could do as a real solution. Truth-telling. We need to share the real story, not the one spun by those in power. Empowering locals. Stop treating countries like a chessboard and start listening to the people on the ground. A cultural shift from revenge to reconciliation. We've seen it work. Voices over violence. Let people be heard before they break. Let's read this again. This is how ChatGPT suggests how to stop these wars and stuff. Truth-telling. We need to share the real story, not the one spun by the ones in power. We need to tell why the Houthis are upset, why they're doing this and why they're doing that. We need to tell the entire story, not just a piece of it. Empowering locals. Stop treating countries like chessboards and start listening to the people on the ground. The people usually tell you what they think is going wrong. And most times they point at the government. And you know, people draw a consensus based on what the government's broadcasting to them most of the time. That's why it's called television. Television, television. Next one, the cultural shift from revenge to reconciliation. Voices over violence. Let people be heard before they break. Let them speak their mind. Let them say what they need to say. Let them tell the world. And the world can judge them based on that, not just on one narrative by a group who's got a lot of money and influence. ChatGPT said it best. The real solution lies in understanding and communication, not violence, not force. Just trust, truth, trust, and working together. If this resonates with you, even just a little, share it. Help this message reach someone who can't afford to stay quiet anymore. We need to put the truth behind power. We need to listen, not just react, and together we can shift the narrative. Okay, so I told ChatGPT, then I said, great. I said, now mix it with several structured ways in order to implement some plans in order to stop the wars and stuff. So what's the solution to this conflict and how do we get there? We don't need more war. We need more action, accountability, change. Change that starts with truth-telling, empowering local voices, and building bridges. Here's how we can do it. Here's what ChatGPT had to say. Truth-telling, exposing the lies, sharing the facts. First, truth-telling is the foundation. We need to expose the narratives that have been manipulated by the power players. But how can we do that effectively? Actionable plan number 1. Start with independent journalism. Support independent media outlets that report on the ground. Local journalists and whistleblowers are crucial. They know what's really happening, not just what the international media tells them. Create platforms for untold stories. Use social media, YouTube, and grassroots campaigns to give real people a voice, whether it's in civilians in Yemen or activists. Let them speak directly to the world. Fact check and disrupt misinformation. Partner with global fact-checking organizations to expose false narratives. It's important for us to show that misinformation isn't just harmful, it fuels conflict. Truth has the power to shift the entire narratives, but it requires all of us to stop consuming media passively and start questioning what we see. Number 2, empowering locals, giving the power back to the people. The second part of the solution is empowering locals, people who understand their community's struggle far better than foreign powers ever will. Action accountability plan number 2. Invest in local leadership. Identify grassroots leaders in the conflict zone who can act as mediators and peace builders. Provide them with resources and training to negotiate and bring opposing sides to the table. Create economic opportunities. Start social enterprises that provide jobs and stability. Economic independence can prevent people from being manipulated into violence. Decentralized peace building. Instead of imposing peace deals from the top down, support peace building efforts that begin at the community level, like neighborhood peace councils or intertribal meetings. Empowering people to be the architects of their own peace doesn't just stop wars, it transforms communities. Number 3, a cultural shift from revenge to reconciliation. Now let's talk about changing the culture. This conflict, like many others, is rooted in revenge, mistrust, and fear. What we need is a shift from vengeance to reconciliation. Actionable accountability plan. Number 3. Support truth and reconciliation commissions. This is worked in places like South Africa after apartheid. Create spaces for all parties to tell their stories, confront their trauma, and build understanding. Public reconciliation events. Broadcast dialogues between opposing sides, tribal leaders, political figures, or civilians. Show the world that peace isn't just possible, it's desirable. Use media and art. Promote art, music, and film that showcase stories of reconciliation, stories that heal and unite rather than divide. Social media campaigns that promote these stories can change hearts and minds. Reconciliation is not just a quick fix, but it's a long-term answer. People need to see others as human before they can forgive, and it takes all of us to spread that message. Number 4, voices over violence. Listening before breaking. Lastly, we need to listen because violence always comes from a place of being unheard. Let me repeat that. We need to listen because violence always comes from a place of being unheard. Actionable plan. Number 4. Create open forum for dialogue. Set up public forums where conflicting sides can speak to one another without fear or retaliation. Allow people to get to air grievances, but also brainstorm solutions together. Support youth-led space initiatives. The younger generation in conflict zones often has a different perspective on the world. Fund initiatives led by youth to develop peace programs and nonviolent conflict resolution strategies. Create international networks of solidarity. It's not just about the people in Yemen, it's about the world listening. Organize international rallies, petitions, and online campaigns that call for global action on peace and human rights, holding governments accountable for their role in fueling the conflict. When people feel they've been heard, they're less likely to pick up arms. Listening creates space for healing. Change doesn't have to be impossible, it just requires us to act, to listen, and to break free from the narratives of the division. There are real solutions. They're not perfect, but they can create a path out of conflict. So here's the call to action. Speak up when you hear misinformation. Support local peace builders. Share stories of reconciliation, and most importantly, listen, because the people on the ground know better than anyone how to fix this. If you believe in these solutions, share this video. Don't just watch, be part of the change. Together we can shift the narrative. Together we can build the world we need. Now this was a conversation between me and ChatGPT on the war in Yemen and how to stop it and why it's going on, and just basically what it was is the truth behind Yemen, power, and the illusion of control. A conversation that needs to be heard. Alright, I appreciate y'all. Y'all like, share, comment. If you made it this far, subscribe. I'll do other different kind of videos. Y'all have a good day. God bless.